Okay guys, we're going to do a bit of hand wrapping. So normally to start with the hand, just give it a little bit of a massage, check that the knuckles and everything are okay so your fight isn't going to hurt. Tend to give the fingers a bit of a pull so you get any cracks out of them, just a bit of alignment. Then you get your partner just to rest their hand for a moment. We're going to start off with some tape. So this is for a professional hand wrap for a fight. So first bit of tape goes around the thumb. So I take my fighter's hand, I place around the base of the thumb, go through the opening of the thumb, try not to get it too creased just because it can become annoying. And then we want to make it so we're not pulling on the tape as we wrap because that'll make it go too tight. So then I'm just going to go across, up and over. So again, see how the tape's short? If I pull now and do this, it'll make it very tight. So what I do is just hold the tape, then give myself a good strip. And then I just go around with enough firmness that it's just slightly pulling on the skin as I come around. So I've gone around twice and just end up holding that one off. Okay, so now I'm just going to work up the wrist a little bit. So I start from the side, come across, and we're just doing the top part of the hand, so you don't go all the way around, and we just slightly overlap the tape each one. So I'll just show what I mean by that. So still nothing under here, just coming across the top. Sometimes if the fighter's a bit sweaty, the ends of the tape will start to peel up. Don't be too concerned about that. If obviously the tape's lifting across the whole lot, then it's not going to be any good. So you'll have to try and dry the hand or use better tape. Now here, when we get to the knuckle area, depending on the jurisdiction, will depend on how much tape you can go forward. So we're in a jurisdiction where we're allowed to tape over the knuckle, so I'm going to tape over the knuckle. If you weren't allowed to, you would have finished it where I had that last piece of tape. I'm going to do about 5 lengths of tape over the knuckle. I'm going to ask my fighter to clench his fist, or her fist, or their fist, and come across. So the reason I've got in clenched fist is so I can see the shape of the knuckle, make sure I'm going across that top part of the knuckle. So I've got just enough over the top and then the face. So when he opens up, it's sitting across, but it just gives me a good target area of where to lay my tape. I'm just going to do 2 more. Again, this would just depend on fighter, how much time you had and what you like to pack out. But I tend to find around about 5 pieces just gives a good firm base without making it hard. So the referees or the tape checker will generally check to make sure you've got nothing packed, and it needs to be soft. So you're not packing this to the point where it's like a hard piece of cardboard. I'm then going to take the crepe bandage. It's quite an open bandage. And I work out about how wide my partner's or my fighter's knuckles are. So I'm going to go about my 5 finger space. Some will have quite broad fingers, so you'll splay your fingers out as you're wrapping. Some will have small fingers, so I'd only go around 3. So it just depends on the size of the hand. So I'm going to go around my own hand. I'm going to just have a guess at about 10 times. And it's just so you feel like you've got a reasonable amount of packing or padding. And at that point, I'm just going to cut the cloth. And this part here will be for the direct padding of the knuckle. Now at this point you can fold again if you like to make it a small piece, or you can lay it out if you like to have a larger one. I tend to like to sit it right over the knuckle. Just make a fist again for me. Good, and that just allows me to make sure I'm going to be sitting on the right spot. Open your hand up again for me. And the way we'll generally start is we'll put this under. I'll ask him to pinch it with his thumb or their thumb. And I come across, go under, open the thumb, good. And now it should be pretty much locked in space. So now as I get to the end of it, I'm just going to give it a twist. This isn't detrimental if you do or you don't. I just tend to find that it helps as I come up each side to just help bunch the wrap in a little bit and just help make it stay that little bit tighter and neater. And again, to make sure it's covering that knuckle area nicely. And once again, I'm going to go around probably about 6 times, just until I feel like I've really got a good position. And again, the tightness I'm pulling is just tight enough that if I was to just sit it, and then just that tiny bit more. So just enough to pull the skin, nothing more than that. Need to be careful when you get around the little finger that you're not getting up to this knuckle. It's easy to get that jam, so you make sure you're high on the little finger side. Okay, so from here I'm going to go back down the wrist. I'm going to go around the wrist a couple of times. Cool. And you'll get used to how long your bandages are or your wraps are for how many times you can go around different spots. So I just went around the thumb. I've come from under the wrist. I've come around so I can go up through the opening of the thumb, back down and around, or I can come from the back of the thumb in and back around and over. Generally this one will sit better, so that's the way I'll tend to come. So I'll go around again, so over the back of the thumb. This helps reinforce it, particularly for uppercuts and hooks, or if you just jar your thumb into the side of someone's head, or your fighter into the side of someone's head. So he makes his fist again. Just make sure I'm not getting too tight on that. It sits nicely there. Open your hand up again. Very good. Going down. So again, I'll just get my fighter here to turn their hand over, and you can see that the palm is still open. Nothing's coming up through here. So we just want to make sure we're not covering. Okay, turn it back. Good. And then I'm just going to keep repeating this process. So I'll go back up the hand again, over the knuckles. Sometimes you'll use the whole wrap. Some fighters I've had, their hands are so big that I'll use the full wrap, and I'll have to use a part of another wrap to make the padding. And other fighters have smaller hands, and I won't even want to use the whole wrap. I'll cut it a little bit short and just use what I have, because we don't need to overpack the hand or over wrap the hand. It's just to add that level of safety to their hand. We don't necessarily want to add a massive amount more weight that they've then got to carry throughout the fight. So I'm really happy with where I'm at with that. So I would cut the rest of that off, which I'm not going to do today just because it's a test dummy wrap. Actually I will, because I can't stuff that anywhere. And I'm just going to get the fighter to hold that on. Excellent. And I just take my little bit of tape. And generally we try not to get this outer layer of tape onto the skin. So he's already got a lot of tape that he has to pull off, which is annoying. Doesn't need any more. And it also can just be a little bit annoying with the glove and when he's fighting. So we just try and keep that clear. Okay, and I'll go back and I'll repeat my process again. So I'm going to start on the thumb. Going to wrap around, come back out at the back of it, back around down the wrist, and finish off. Then again, I would move my way along the hand, following the angle of the hand. Again, overlapping by about half to a third. Okay, so you'll be able to see the pad ridging here, so it's higher than the rest of it. That's what we want. Again, if this is somewhere where I wasn't allowed to go forward of the knuckles, just make a fist for me. You can see where the knuckle line is, so I would just go one more bit of tape like that, and that would be that wrap completed, nearly. I would still do the fingers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward of the knuckles, because we're going to say we're in a jurisdiction where I'm allowed to. I'm not going to pack it as many layers as I did before. I'm only going to do the one layer. Well, actually, I'll be doing two, but 2 layers now. I'm going to go get my fighter to hold their fist nice and tight. I'm going to go actually from the little finger side, sorry, and around. So I've gone across the face and then back down the side. And depending on the tape, this particular roll isn't overly grippy, but it's doing okay. So sometimes I'd put another piece over just to make sure it was held in place. Okay, now we're just going to join the across the knuckles. So I take a length of probably about 15 to 20 centimeters, and then I'm going to strip this into a number of strips. Like that. Get my fighter to turn his hand over for me. And I just bunch up the centerpiece. I go under, hook the tape back onto itself underneath. I then pinch the tape just so it doesn't stick in between his fingers too much. Get him to turn his hand over. Then run the tape, make a fist for me. Up through the knuckle and across and down, and usually try and finish just at the base of the rear of the palm or the back of the hand, so not too much into the wrist area, just because it's likely to peel up. And that bit got all curled up, so difficult to use. Best thing to remember when you're taping someone's hand is to remember the tape's very cheap, so don't worry, just throw out what you don't need. Turn your hand over again for me. I'll try to turn his hand the wrong way. Cool, make a fist. Do it again. I go up between the knuckle, strap across, go about to the base of the back of the hand, and I'm just going to need one more of those. And we're nearly there. So I'll take my strip. Around and underneath. That was a painful piece. Pinch the center, get him to turn his hand over. Make a fist. Pull it up. If there's any excess, again, just get rid of it. Okay, 2 more bits just to go. I can turn his hand over again. I take a length, about the same length as what it is underneath, and I'm just going to pinch that together so it just helps hold it together nicely. Turn his hand back over again, and you would normally just finish with 1 or 2 bits to hold those bits all in place. Help give strength to his wrist. Then I'd say to my fighter, don't over flex, please. Just wear your hand like that, and don't be doing all this stuff, because that's going to make it move too much. Excellent. Guys, I hope that shows what it is to turn your hand over again for us. Good. Turn it sideways. Good. Make a fist. See this ridge here, guys? See how the knuckles are showing nice and obvious? That's how we want it. Yeah, they can feel that there's nothing in there, but it also feels nice and strong. Wrist feels nice and strong and supported. Excellent.